Here we go. Thank you very much for joining us today. So let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Alka Madan, and I am the founder of Global Women Power. So we have been working in this from 2015. So our idea was always to help women connect with each other and distribute power evenly, so that women who is with little less power gets power from the women who is more powerful, and then grow together. So in this process, we have helped about 2,000 plus women, help them set up their businesses, give business counseling, loan them money here and there, and then find jobs by giving them skill training or things like that. So at present, I am on board with Fremont City and on advisory board, and also acknowledged by Google as one of the nonprofit. So we did a series called Sheroes, Meet Our Sheroes, right? And then we interviewed many women. So one day I talked to Nancy. I said, let's start meeting, man behind the woman. Let's reverse it a little, and then, because that's very, very, very important, because all the Sheroes, they just struggled. They just kept going, kept going. So I want to bring an example for our audience, that how a woman, if she has somebody who is supporting her, that how her journey becomes easier.
Good.
So from there we will start. First, I will ask Mary what had been her success story.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's my story?
Your success story.
My success story.
I just want to say hi, Mary. Hi, Perry. Go ahead.
Hi. Good to see you. Thank you for the invitation to be a part of this. This is very interesting, and it's exciting to learn about the work that you're doing.
You're very welcome.
Perry and I have been together for the last 11 years, 12 years. We met 12 years ago, and we've been married now for 11 years. When we got together, we found that we had several things in common and a few things not at all in common. The in common things, we both love photography. We both have marketing experience. Mine is learned by mistakes. His is far more professional than mine. I had spent a number of years in the nonprofit world in terms of marketing, and Perry is a professional marketer, marketing professional. So we had those things to talk about that we enjoyed and found in common. One thing that was very different was our life of faith. At the time we met, I was in seminary. I'm a Presbyterian pastor now. Perry was not brought up in the church and didn't have or doesn't have the language of faith that I grew up with. So we felt like that we needed to talk about that a lot because I wasn't going to change my path. I had wanted to be a pastor since I was 8 years old. So one of the things we came to understand, that one of the things you learn in life is that it's better not to try to change the other person, but to come to appreciate the person for who they are and the gifts that they have and what they bring to the relationship and to the world. And at that point, I think we began to see that we could acknowledge the strengths and the benefits of each other and not feel the need to change the other person to fit a predetermined pattern that we may have had in our minds. So that began our journey. And I would say that his support over those years has certainly led to my success and to my being able to flourish in this new environment and this new vocation that I was following at the time we met.
So would it have been different if he wasn't around?
Oh, I think it certainly would have been different if he wasn't around. It can be a long, lonely path with nobody to support you and help you. I had been a widow for about 10 years and had learned to live rather independently. And all of a sudden having somebody around who actually wanted to help me was a surprise and a delight. Just to give you one small example, in the very beginning when I was in school, the classes were in Charlotte, and we live near Asheville. It's about 2 hours drive between the two cities. And so I had to get up at 4:30 on Saturday morning to drive to Charlotte for classes, which I'd been doing for about 3 years on my own. And when Perry came along, he agreed or offered to get up at 4:30 on Saturday morning and drive me to Charlotte so that I could have 2 extra hours either to sleep in the car early in the morning or to do extra work. It was things like that that made the whole journey not only a little bit easier, but also far more fun, gave me an opportunity to relax a little bit. I didn't have to take care of every kind of detail because Perry was there to support me along the way.
Perfect. So Perry, as you told that you are a marketing personnel, so you sold yourself well to Mary.
Well, I suppose we did. Sold each other. We met online by chance. I was sort of in the market and she wasn't, but she was helping a friend who was, and all of a sudden my name popped up and she sent me an instant message and I sent her an instant message back, and we had dinner that night, and we were married less than a year later.
Perfect. I wish everybody has that dream story, you know.
Yeah.
It seems very easy.
Oh yeah, well, it does. But
So how easy is it to be in a woman's shoes, you know, when it comes to the professional world? And what kind of, you know, challenges you see that a woman faces from your eyes?
you're asking Mary or me?
I'm asking you.
Oh, well, her profession now is very well represented by women. When prior to her becoming a Presbyterian minister, she was the vice president of adult programming for a very old Presbyterian conference center here in the Asheville area called Montreat. And so in that, she had to work with marketing people. She had to work with promotional, public relations, and meeting makers and a variety of people. And because she's strong and independent in her own right, I never sensed that she had any trouble speaking up for herself at all. Generally, she's the extrovert in the family and I'm the introvert in the family. So there's never any hesitation to speak up. And I've always, in my lifetime, have felt that we're all equal. I mean, women aren't lesser or more than men, and different colored people aren't lesser or more than other people. And so it's just how I grew up and the environment I grew up in, and the fact that I didn't have any background in her world didn't bother me, and fortunately didn't bother her. So I just supported her as I could. I couldn't help her with her lessons that she was taking, but I could at least help her get her back and forth to Charlotte. And now as a preacher's spouse, I can be a busy guy at times.
All right. So, you know, I know because our organization also does not stresses on feminism or how women or men are different. So we are talking on a level, you know, in which we are all indoctrinated, like man becomes indoctrinated in a certain way and woman becomes indoctrinated in a certain way. But even then, woman has a female part of her and then man has male part of her. If you find a strong woman, you know, who is deciding for herself, who is taking care of herself, so what is it that she needs at home and that you provided?
Yeah, just unquestioning support. to be her best self that she wants to be, without me trying to mold or guide what direction she should take. I need to be quiet and listen. I think it's a real good idea to be quiet and listen generally, rather than be quick to say, but wait, no, I've got something more important to say than you do. And we don't learn very fast. So that's always been my motive to be an equal partner in a marriage. And so, we've both been married more than once. And so we've had a little more experience at it than maybe somebody who hasn't. But regardless, it's just important to be supportive in any way that you can, and listen carefully.
Perfect. And Mary, another question I have, because does a strong woman always need a man to fall back upon, or she can just be with the female associates and can carry on? Because women, those who have succeeded in their career, sometimes I see that they're lacking in relationship, so-called, not generally speaking, but quite vast majority of them.
Well, I think depending on the gifts of the particular person, male or female, they can do it on their own if they're gifted in that area and following their gifts and their passion, of course. At the same time, I think it makes it far more pleasurable, far more enjoyable. And for me, knowing that there's somebody at home to talk to, knowing that I'm me, the extrovert, I'm not alone, all those hours at home. And especially during the pandemic, that has been nice. But I think just knowing there's somebody in your corner. Perry has never one time tried to advise me on church leadership or working with a congregation or writing a sermon or any of those kinds of things. At the same time, I know he's there to support me. And in a number of cases, it has turned out that we have needed, whatever church I was serving, we might have needed some technical advice for everything, especially in the pandemic now, from cameras to sound equipment to, those kinds of things. And I know that I can ask him to meet with the leadership team of the church at any time, and that he'd be happy to do that and offer his expertise. So in that respect, it feels very much like a partnership. Although I try to be careful and not overpromise for him. If there's something new and different coming up that I think I'd like to suggest to my church leadership that they could talk to him about it, I'm always careful to ask him about that first and get his opinion. And what he says goes. So if he says, I really don't feel comfortable, I don't want to do that, then that settles it. But at the same time, when he is able to step up and help people with the expertise that he does have, I think it's very beneficial. And it gives me added confidence, I guess, in terms of how I can provide leadership maybe in this arena that has his technical expertise. It would be the same as if, you and I were real good friends. We knew each other well. I knew all your gifts, and I might want to suggest your gifts to people. Then I would check with you first. So it's really a partnership is the word I keep coming up with. I feel like that he wants my church to flourish as much as I do, and he's willing to offer in an advisory capacity any way that he can to help it flourish without being taken advantage of.
Perfect. So, as you see in my name, it says Dr. Alka Chopra Madan. So I'm a metaphysical counselor. So I do marriage counseling also. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when I put couples together, I ask, okay, tell me 10 good points he has. And they say, oh my God, 10 good points, even after staying for 20 years together, they just kind of come like this, like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 or 2 and say, oh. So that is what, I just wanted your insight on that, how much you appreciate each other on daily basis and then keep pushing each other, So that is also one question I have from Perry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have always been gravitated to people who feel an independence and who aren't needy. The last person I want to spend much time with is someone who just clings on and to my every word like a puppy. I mean, I've got a dog that does that. I don't need a person to do that. So that's probably the most important thing, and the fact that we do share some common interests is great. As it's really nice as we're say walking along outdoors on a wooded path. Mary will say, "Look at how the shadows of those leaves are cast down on the path itself," and we know exactly what we're talking about. As opposed to, "Hey, there's a bird over there." It's a little more subtle and nuanced, so it's kind of fun to go a little deeper on topics like that. And of course, we can't go deep on topics of faith because it's my background, my upbringing just doesn't include that, and so that's fine. And I do music. I play the piano and compose and do things. And Mary listens to music. So we have some commonalities. But I think my favorite thing is that sense of independence that she doesn't need me to exist and thrive, and I don't need her. But we are both much more. It's a much richer experience when we are both taking this path together, and we appreciate and cherish that every day as we're approaching retirement here. We're of the baby boomer generation, and we used to think that we were invincible like other folks, but by golly, as you age, things don't work as well, and so we have the opportunity to lean on each other, whether it's mentally, if one of us were to become debilitated in that way, or physically. And so it's nice to know that you've got a safety net there should you need it. So.
Yeah, so for our audience, if you make it look so easy, like you guys talk to each other, you appreciate each other, people may not relate to that, because most of the time people say, no, it's not that easy. Because, my husband will say, sorry, number of times in a day. I said, why you keep saying sorry? He says, keep some extra with you, because if I do some mistake, then I'm already sorry for it.
A build up, yeah.
So there is one trait for which women are known, and that is called nettering. Like women netter a lot. They're known like that. Some symbol on women.
And say that word again. Nettering.
Nettering.
I don't know.
How do you spell it?
Nattering. Netter.
Oh, lettering.
No,
lettering.
Nettering.
Oh, lettering.
No, it starts with N.
And nettering.
Don't know that word. Huh.
That's a new word to me.
Really?
Yep. There you go.
Nancy, can you check that word? I don't know if I'm saying it wrong. So meanwhile, I will tell a joke on that. This woman used to correct her husband a lot. I don't like your friends. Why don't you change your kind of friends?
Yeah.
And then he changed his kind of friends. And she said, oh, you drink too much alcohol, reduce it. And I do not like this color on you. And then, 7-8 years happened in marriage. So he changed over a period of time, whatever she asked her to do.
Oh.
And now she tells him, oh, you're no longer the same old man I knew.
Oh. Wow.
Huh?
It's N-A-T-T-E-R,
Netter, yeah.
To talk casually, especially about unimportant
We're having trouble hearing you, Nancy. I
So
think.
is there any other meaning too?
No, that's it.
Can you?
You know what? I was off. I was muted. I'll
That's
read
better.
it again. It means to talk casually, especially about unimportant matters, to chatter.
Oh, okay.
Right. Keep correcting.
We learned something new today.
Idle talk or conversation.
Yeah. So
N-A-T-T-E-R.
Good. All right.
So is that what your challenge also? Like she corrects you and tries to fix you?
No, I mean, again, as Mary said at the very beginning, if we learned anything back in our first several decades of life, it's that it's futile and exhausting to work to change someone else when there's
Perfect.
so much that you can do just to improve yourself. If you invest all that energy that you might have invested to change the other person inward and perhaps improve yourself, listen again. If she says, you know, I really like it when this, or, you know, I prefer that, not that, but, you know, without pestering and 3 times a day or something like that, you know, I may hear it after a few times and I may not, but you pick your moments as to how much you're going to invest in trying to really change behavior, or the option is to simply accept the other person for who they are and how they are, and just cherish that. I mean, it sounds all kind of warm and fuzzy, but gosh, you know, 11 years after 12 years after we met, and it's probably going to work out, I guess.
So how long did it take to reach to this conclusion, like let each other be who they are? How long did it take?
That was early on. I mean, right. I mean, we met the first day that we ever heard of each other. We had dinner, and I would say within a week or two, we weren't talking about marriage or anything at that point, but we were really talking about serious things. The one thing that made sense to me for a long time is, if you try to put on airs when you meet somebody to be the best person you think they'd like you to be, that is going to be exhausting. You cannot keep it up, and it'll be disappointing to everybody when you finally have no more energy to do that. So we both agreed, let's be real. If it doesn't seem to mesh for us, let's find that out early on, and we can part ways. No harm, no foul, and we'll move on with our lives. And so I think that we both consciously made an effort to really just be who we were and let fate take its course.
Perfect. It's a beautiful lesson.
Yeah.
A lesson worth learning.
So far, so good.
I learned in some marriage
fate
counseling.
and faith in each other. Faith
Yeah.
and faith in each other.
That's
Right,
good.
right.
Yeah, Mary, what were you saying?
In the right before I got married, the first time we were going for marriage counseling, as you do right before you get married. And one of the pieces of advice that we were given that really stuck with me is, don't ask the other person to change anything they cannot change. For example, you know, don't complain about the fact they have brown eyes when you wish they had blue eyes. I mean, they can't change that. And that really struck me. And I worked hard at that. I have over a lifetime with everybody. So I think, you know, for me coming into the marriage, that part was something I'd worked on for years. One of the things that I appreciated most about Perry is what a calm personality he has. He's very, very level-headed all the way through and thinks very logically. And I'm the other one. I'm the emotional roller coaster like that. So I was very highly attracted to his calm nature and wanted to learn from him as far as how to respond to circumstances in a calmer way. And over the years, he's really taught me a lot, I think, just by being himself without really realizing, you know, what he was doing. So again, it's looking for what we can appreciate in each other. I don't think either one of us would ever say that we're perfect or that the other person is perfect. And can a marriage grow? Of course, it can always grow. And we keep focused on that as a direction, I think, and that helps us a lot. We have a funny little saying that when we were single and looking, I was probably looking for a preacher man. And Perry was looking for what we call locally a granola girl. And I got the granola man and he got the preacher girl. So, you know, there's humor in that. Enjoy that. You know, live with those differences and find that fun rather than frustrating.
Well, and I might add that as I learned long ago, and it's served me well. Two things about being with a partner is, particularly a woman partner, is when she expresses frustration or dissatisfaction with something external, don't rush in to fix it. Just hold her. Just be there, be quiet, hold her, don't try to fix it. And the other thing is, give her a gift when she doesn't expect it. Flowers given when there's nothing to give them for is that works.
That's the key.
Yeah, it does.
So one more question I have, which is also a kind of misunderstood by so many people. They always keep saying we should spend some quality time together, and that definition is not very clear.
Yeah.
So can you throw some light on what quality time means in the marital relationship?
I think that cherishing every moment you have. Now, you can't invest every bit of your energy in every moment there is, but the small moments. We walk our two little dogs most every day in our neighborhood, and we're in a beautiful wooded part of the western North Carolina and the mountains, and so it's a pretty and just that's quality time. Together, we're with our beloved animals. Neither one of us have children of our own. And so, we have our animals, we have the beauty of the nature around us. We appreciate our health. We appreciate that we've been safe through the pandemic. And quality time just can pervade your relationship rather than saying, okay, well, most of the time we're not spending quality time. Well, wait a minute, maybe that's something to reflect back on and just think about it. There are moments that seem innocuous or unimportant unless you just give them a half a second of thought. Wow, that was fun. Let's do that again. Doesn't have to be a great big thing. Now, it's nice to go out to a nice dinner somewhere or celebrate or do something special or a nice trip. Nothing against doing that at all. We enjoy it. But spread it out through the day, through your years, and I think that's our definition of quality time. I'll let Mary speak for herself.
Very nice.
I heard the average couple spends 2 hours a week quality time with themselves.
Oh,
Ooh.
wow.
I think I would work on making a little more of that available.
Because of the jobs and other responsibilities.
Well, see, that's
not that they don't want to.
Between jobs and people raising children, their whole schedules and their lives and focus are very different. As Perry said, we don't have children. We met each other later in life. I was working full time at the time. One of the things we did was when I came home from work every day, we had what we called couch time. We sat down on the sofa and just sort of unpacked our day together. And that usually took, 45 minutes to an hour, maybe, just chit chatting about this and that. Perry would tell me about clients he had talked to and projects he was working on. I would tell him about, different people that I had come in contact with throughout my day. And then we'd get up and prepare dinner together. That's another thing we do together every night is put our meals together. And before the pandemic, I will say one of the very supportive things he's always done is if I didn't want to mess with dinner, I'd say, let's go XYZ and get a bite to eat. He was always right on it. Okay, that's fine. Let's go. It just wasn't something worth, more discussion.
When you had the COVID pandemic during the lockdowns, did you do like services and sermons online, like Zoom?
Yes, I started with this congregation. I'm actually an interim pastor. Their pastor of 20 years had retired. And when I started with them was in May of last year. So we were already in lockdown. So all of my interaction with them has been on Zoom. It's a small congregation and they like to meet on Zoom where they can see each other's faces and ask questions real time. So our worship, Bible study, leadership meetings, everything is on Zoom. We're just now beginning to talk about the possibility of doing something in person outdoors, because we do have a number of people who've been vaccinated. So possibly in May, maybe June, depending on how the numbers are in North Carolina.
So you can see that the composition of Mary's image right now, with the bookcases in the background, the lighting, the little lav mic, the size and everything, that is her every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. It starts and she goes and we record it and post it on YouTube for the folks that can't make the Zoom. And so it's just, again, that technology thing is something that I sort of understand enough to take care of. And so it's really been a good marriage. No complaints. We're on it.
So I learned a new word from you, Mary: couch time, not quality time. I will promote that. So because, I had been asking tough questions I think sometimes, when couple is together, then people don't open up that much, or they remain cautious or whatever they are saying, because thinking that if the other person will say okay or not. Mm-hmm. So one more tough question I want to ask you. So many women, they just think that marriage is not for them. They just say, okay, those who are successful or career oriented, and their day is packed. And so you found him, and then you guys were getting along well. So what is the importance of bringing marriage in rather than just staying together?
Rather than just living together?
Yeah.
Why marriage? Well, my faith teaches me. I felt more comfortable being married to begin with. That's a trite answer, though. I really personally believe in the institution of marriage. I believe that in the beginning, we all think that our love is going to do everything for us and is going to make the marriage perfect. I think over time and with maturity, you come to understand that it is the marriage that sustains the love. And that the love becomes valuable and the marriage becomes valuable enough to continue to work on it. That sometimes, we can get frustrated and tired and say, okay, I'm just going to take my marbles and go home and play another game with some other people. But the marriage to me is truly a lifetime commitment. And you don't just walk away from it, you stick to it. And sometimes when the rocks develop in the relationship, you have to put energy into climbing over them and finding the person on the other side. And what does that take? My first marriage, my first husband developed a rare brain disease. And so for the last 10 years of our marriage, he had mental problems. I mean, it was a progressive dementia. Had we not been married, I don't know, maybe I could have just said, well, okay, rest of the family, you all take care of him. But that wasn't the case. I was committed to him and was going to take care of him. And so that's important to me. That's why marriage. Now, I have talked to other people who have not gotten married, who will say the same thing. They've made that commitment to each other and they're not going to go away. So having never lived in a long-term relationship in that way, I really can't speak to it.
How do you react to Paul's teaching about a celibacy view, better not to marry?
Paul can say what Paul wants to say.
What do you think he meant by it? Was he against marriage? I don't think he was.
I don't think Paul was against marriage. I think he was talking to a particular people at a particular time about a particular circumstance. And that we have, in our day and age, sometimes have a tendency to universalize things that Paul has said. I think Paul had a great appreciation for women. and spoke up for women in ways that sometimes the church has not been able to recognize, because they have taken other things he said that were speaking to particular issues at a particular time, and taken them out of context.
I agree with you.
Perry, you have any insight on this topic?
My insight would be, who's Paul?
He wrote a number of the epistles in the New Testament literature.
I've heard the name, but therein lies a vast difference in our experience. And so I listen and keep quiet, because I, on the other hand, the more general topic of how women are people, men are people. Why do we even categorize them as superior or inferior? I don't get that. I've never gotten that. I guess that's just in my upbringing. My parents, they weren't preachy people, but they just did what they did, and it seemed like the right thing to do. I grew up in a elementary school that was primarily consisted of Black kids, and it never occurred to me that was peculiar, or that I should be fearful or doubtful. Maybe that entered. I don't know. I think it was just my upbringing, that people are people, and let's all just take them where they are, instead of put labels on them before they get a chance to express themselves.
That's what I believe in too. That's why, we're bringing out these topics, so that, people where they are getting in complicated relationship, they should simplify it.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was one celebrity I know, and he was going to get married to another celebrity. So he said, one of my friend advised me, treat your woman like you will treat a man, and that will keep the marriage successful. And he said, I bought into it. And that's what you're talking, like we are all people. Maybe we are nobody less, more.
Sure.
So thank you very much. Very insightful. And I want to take your permission that if we share this video in different groups, is that okay with you?
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge Perry's had in being married to me is I'm from the deep South and he's from Michigan, and we have expressions that he doesn't understand. And sometimes I'll say something and he'll look at me and he'll say, sweetheart, I know your mouth is moving and you're saying words, but I don't understand. I don't have the slightest idea what you mean in what you just said. So we have fun with that.
Thank you very much. And hopefully this message gets across.
Okay.
Yes.
Stay in touch, everyone.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take care.
God bless. Thank you.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.